Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive with us. Today we're going to be looking at something cool.
Yeah.
The habits of highly successful people.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be taking a look at this from a neuroscientific perspective.
Cool.
The source for today's deep dive is a neuroscientist on YouTube
Okay.
from the channel Respire.
Heard of them.
Have you? Yeah, they're really interesting.
Yeah.
And the video that we're looking at specifically is called Neuroscientist: 3 Mental Habits of the Highly Successful.
Catchy title.
So what we're going to be looking at is
Mm-hmm.
how much of our habits are actually driven by our subconscious.
Right, because we don't think about that a lot.
No, we don't. And it's kind of a crazy thing to realize that so much of what we do every day is just habitual.
It really is. Like when you stop and think about it, it's a little scary.
Did you know that almost 70% of what we do each day is habitual?
Wow, 70%. That's a lot. Yeah.
Like we're basically running on autopilot most of the time.
That's why it's important to understand how those habits form in the first place.
That's what we're going to get into today.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the neuroscience behind habit formation.
Yeah.
What's happening in our brains when we do something automatically?
It all comes down to a type of memory called procedural memory.
Procedural memory.
Have you ever ridden a bike after not doing it for years?
Oh, yeah.
And you know how to do it?
Totally.
That's your procedural memory.
Oh, wow.
It's how our brains remember how to do things.
Interesting.
Not specific events, but the actions themselves.
A recipe or
Exactly.
a dance routine.
You've got
Yeah.
this set of instructions stored in your brain.
This is really key for building habits.
Think about something like brushing your teeth.
Right.
You don't have to think about every single step anymore. It's automatic.
Totally automatic.
That's procedural memory in action.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
What about when we're trying to create new habits or break old ones?
That's where things get tricky.
Yeah, that's where we usually struggle, right?
It's not as simple as just deciding to do something.
Right.
Our brains resist change.
So is that where this limbic friction comes in?
Exactly.
Okay, I've heard that term before.
It sounds intimidating.
It sounds kind of scary, actually.
But it's a very normal thing.
Right.
It's our brain's natural resistance to doing something new or breaking an old habit.
It's like our brain is trying to protect us.
It's trying to keep us in our comfort zone where it feels safe and familiar.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's like that little voice in your head saying, do we really need to do this?
But if our brains are fighting against change, how do we actually manage to establish a new habit?
That's where we can use a bit of brain hacking.
Okay, I'm listening.
One powerful tool is visualization.
Oh, okay.
Imagine you want to start making yourself a healthy smoothie every morning.
All right. I like where this is going.
Instead of just telling yourself, I'm going to do this,
Yeah.
visualize yourself going through the steps.
So I'm picturing myself getting out the blender.
Got all the ingredients, the fruits, the veggies,
Yeah.
hearing that blender going, and then finally pouring yourself a delicious smoothie.
That sounds amazing right now.
The more vividly you can imagine it,
Okay.
the more you're prepping your brain for that new habit.
So it's almost like we're tricking our brains into thinking we've already done it.
Exactly.
So not as scary.
Less resistant to change.
That's a cool concept.
It is.
Is there anything else we could do to kind of
Well,
help that along?
there's another piece to this puzzle.
Right.
Task bracketing.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It's all about creating a mental fingerprint in your brain
A mental fingerprint.
that automatically triggers the habit you're trying to build.
How do we create this mental fingerprint?
It's about what you do before and after the habit.
So it's like a sandwich.
You're sandwiching the new habit
Interesting.
between two existing routines, creating a kind of chain reaction in your brain.
Let's say I wanted to start meditating every morning.
Okay,
Could I make my pre-meditation routine my morning coffee?
that's perfect.
Okay.
And then maybe after you meditate,
Yeah.
you always take your dog for a walk.
Right.
That could be your post-meditation routine.
So I'm bookending my meditation.
You're creating a clear beginning and end,
Yeah.
which helps strengthen those neural pathways.
So over time, my
Yeah.
brain will start to see
Right.
making coffee, meditating, and walking the dog.
As one smooth routine, like a domino effect.
So I'm essentially creating a shortcut in my brain.
You got it.
The new habit is just part of the route.
It's like building a bridge from one familiar action to the next.
I love that analogy.
And the best part is,
Yeah.
it makes your habits less dependent on your mood or willpower.
Oh, so even if I'm feeling super lazy,
Mm-hmm.
if I make that coffee,
Yeah.
my brain will be like, All right, time to meditate. That's amazing.
That's the power of task bracketing.
We've got this concept of task bracket. It sounds super cool.
It is.
Tell me a bit more about the actual neuroscience behind it.
All right.
Going on in my brain when I do this.
It all comes down to a part of your brain called the basal ganglia.
Basal ganglia.
It's involved in controlling your actions and suppressing impulses.
It's like the control center for our habits.
You could say that.
Okay.
Now, within the basal ganglia,
Yeah.
you have the circuits called go and no-go circuits.
Is that like the go is like, let's do this?
And no-go is like, maybe not.
Exactly.
Task bracketing strengthens the go circuit for your desired habit.
So it makes it more likely that we'll actually do it.
Exactly.
What about people who struggle with building habits? What if their no-go circuit is just really strong?
Everyone's brain is different.
Okay.
Some people naturally have a stronger go circuit and others have a stronger no-go.
Right.
Task bracketing can help strengthen that go circuit over time.
Even if we're prone to procrastination,
Even if you're the queen or king of procrastination,
we can train our brains.
you can train your brain to be more action-oriented.
Wow, that's amazing.
Hmm.
I'm already how I approach habit building in my own life.
That's great to hear. It's really all about understanding how your brain works and
Yeah.
using that knowledge to your advantage.
I love that.
Me too.
This has been insightful.
It has.
Really excited to dive even deeper into this. But why don't we take a quick break?
Sure.
And we'll come back and explore some real-life examples.
Good.
How to use task bracketing to achieve our goals.
Awesome.
All right, we'll be back.
See you soon.
All right, so we're back. We've been talking about this task bracketing thing.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful stuff.
I'm curious
Yeah,
to see how we can put this into practice in real life.
because it's one thing to understand the concept, but it's another to actually apply it.
Let's get into some real-life examples then.
Okay.
What are some ways we can use task bracketing to achieve our goals?
Well, the great thing is you can apply this to pretty much any habit
Oh, wow.
you're trying to build.
So it could be anything from exercise
Yeah,
to like being more productive to even creativity.
absolutely.
That's really cool.
Oh.
Can we walk through a specific example
Sure.
just to see it in action?
Let's say you've been wanting to get back into writing.
Okay.
You've got a novel brewing inside you.
Yes, that's me.
You just can't seem to find the time.
Or the motivation.
The motivation, exactly.
It's so hard.
It can be a real struggle.
How could we use task bracketing to get back into that?
Well, you could create a writing ritual.
Oh, a ritual
I love that.
that helps you trigger creativity
Yeah.
and overcome procrastination.
How do we set that up?
Think about when you're most alert and focused.
Okay.
When is your ideal writing time?
Oh, for me, it's definitely mornings.
Okay.
Before the day gets going.
All right. So
And my brain gets full of other stuff.
let's say you want to aim for an hour of writing.
Every morning before work.
Yeah.
Now think about what you already do consistently in the mornings. What could be your pre-writing routine?
I always have my cup of coffee.
Okay.
I usually listen to a podcast
Perfect.
while I'm getting ready.
There's your task bracket.
Awesome.
What about after your writing session?
I do a bit of yoga
Okay.
just to get my
Yeah.
body moving.
So that could be your post-writing routine.
So coffee,
Coffee.
writing,
Writing.
yoga.
Yeah.
I like it.
There you go.
How do we make sure that we stick to that writing time?
That's where the transition ritual comes in.
Okay, the transition ritual.
Think of it as a signal to your brain
Right.
that it's time to shift gears,
Yeah.
enter writing mode.
What could that look like?
It could be as simple as lighting a scented candle on your desk,
Okay.
putting on noise-canceling headphones,
Ooh, I like that.
opening up your writing document, and staring at that blinking cursor.
Anything to get into the zone.
Exactly. Whatever helps you get into that creative headspace.
That's cool.
And by consistently pairing that ritual with your pre-task, the coffee and podcast, and your post-task, the yoga,
Right.
you're essentially training your brain to associate those activities with writing.
So eventually it'll become automatic.
Will become automatic as brushing your teeth.
That would be amazing.
Really is.
What about those days where I'm just not feeling creative?
Mhm.
Will this still work?
That's a beauty of task bracketing.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off your willpower and motivation. It's about creating a system that works even when you're not feeling your best.
So even if I'm totally uninspired,
Mhm.
I can just go through the motions,
Exactly.
kickstart the creativity.
Ritual becomes a cue
Oh.
that overrides your emotional state. It is.
So it's like telling my brain,
Yeah.
all right, it's writing time, whether you like it or not.
You're in control.
I love that.
Me too.
Are there any downsides to this task bracketing thing?
Any tool can be misused.
Yeah.
You need to be mindful of the habits you're choosing to automate.
Right, because we don't want to accidentally automate a bad habit.
You don't want to reinforce something negative.
It's about choosing wisely.
It is.
And making sure that the habits we're building.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Task bracketing is powerful.
Yeah.
It's up to you to use it responsibly.
We're like the superheroes of our own habits.
I like that analogy.
We have the power.
Hey.
This is so cool.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about task bracketing. We've seen some examples of how it can work.
Mm-hmm.
But why don't we take a quick pause here,
Sure.
and then we'll come back and wrap up this discussion with some key takeaways
Good.
and some practical tips that people can actually start using today.
Awesome.
Okay, we are back and ready to wrap up our deep dive on task bracketing.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling super inspired to start implementing some of this stuff.
It's really exciting when you start to see how much control we actually have over our habits.
It's like we've been given this secret weapon.
I like a secret weapon for success.
Let's do a quick recap of what we've covered today.
Okay, we started by talking about how much of our behavior is actually habitual.
Like almost 70%, which is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about it.
And then we talked about how procedural memory plays a role in all of this.
It's how our brains store those automatic sequences of actions.
Like riding a bike,
Exactly.
our teeth.
We can't forget about limbic friction.
That feeling of resistance we get when we try to change things up.
Yeah, but it's important to remember that it's totally normal,
Our brain's trying to protect us.
keeping us in our comfort zone,
But we learned about this awesome technique called task bracketing.
which can help us overcome limbic friction.
By strategically linking new habits to existing routines.
We're creating a mental shortcut that makes it easier for our brains to adopt those new behaviors.
And it takes the pressure off our willpower.
You're not relying on feeling motivated or disciplined.
Right? It's like setting up a system.
That works for you even when you're not feeling your best.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We talked about the example of building a writing habit and how you can use task bracketing to make it more automatic.
Creating those pre-writing and post-writing routines.
Yeah, and that transition ritual.
To help signal to your brain that it's writing time.
I love that this can be applied to so many different areas of life.
If you want to start exercising regularly,
Yeah.
you could choose a pre-workout routine, like stretching.
And a post-workout reward, like a nice, healthy smoothie.
Exactly. Or if you're struggling to floss consistently,
That's a good one.
you could link it to brushing your teeth.
That's something we already do every day.
It's all about finding those existing routines and then slotting in the new habit you want to build.
The possibilities are endless.
They really are.
This is so exciting.
It's like we're taking control of our brains.
And our lives.
Exactly. For everyone listening out there, we want to leave you with a challenge.
Okay. I like challenges.
What's one habit that you can start building this week
This week.
using task bracketing?
Think about something you've been wanting to do, but haven't been able to stick to.
It's meditating,
That's a good one.
reading more, or finally cleaning out that closet you've been avoiding.
Yes. Everyone's got that closet.
Once you've chosen your habit, identify your pre-task and post-task brackets and come up with a simple but powerful transition ritual.
Remember, consistency is key.
The more you practice, the stronger those neural connections become.
The easier it'll be to turn that desired action into a habit.
Exactly.
Don't forget to celebrate those wins along the way.
Every time you successfully execute your new habit, give yourself a pat on the back.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into task bracketing.
We hope you found this helpful.
And inspiring.
Before we sign off, we want to give a shout out to the neuroscientist
Yes.
on the Respire YouTube channel, whose video, Neuroscientist, 3 Mental Habits of the Highly Successful,
Catchy title.
really sparked this whole conversation.
We recommend checking out their channel for more amazing content.
And if you enjoyed today's deep dive, be sure to subscribe to Ascension Spiral for more fascinating explorations into science, personal growth, and everything in between.
We love hearing from you guys, so don't forget to like this episode.
Yes, please do.
Leave a comment below, letting us know what habit you're going to tackle with task bracketing.
We're excited to hear what you come up with.
Thanks for joining us. Catch you next time.
See you, Ira.